Hey, welcome back to another episode of All in Focus. My name is Manny with my co-host Mark.
What's up, everybody?
What's
Manny, we
going
got some cool little headpieces on here today.
Yeah, we don't typically use the headphones, but we have a special guest
We
today.
do. We have a special guest today. Yeah.
Yes,
a
we
little
do.
Sebastian there. Little
Little
Sebastian.
special guest.
Yeah.
Little special
I like
guest.
it. We wore it just for him, right? What's his name?
Well, it's not Sebastian, but this
No.
is my good friend Mike Monardo. Mike, what's
Mike.
going on, brother? Welcome
Hey.
to the program.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure.
How you doing, all right? Everything good?
Doing great. You're doing great. Can't complain.
Awesome. So, Michael, I'm glad that you're able to be on the show today, and I appreciate your time. I know you're busy up there in Seton Hall. What year are you now in Seton Hall?
Graduating senior this May.
Senior already?
That's impressive, man.
God, when I first met Michael, I think it was in 2021. Your dad and Gina got married.
Yep, my dad and Gina's wedding post-COVID.
Ooh,
First
Yes,
big party.
that's right. It was one of the first big
Nice.
ones at Addison.
No more
Park.
masks?
No, I don't
No
know.
more masks.
No,
Ah.
Mike, Anthony, his dad, he would never wear a fucking mask, right, Mike?
Very cool.
Yeah, no. So it was at
Nice.
Addison Park.
Addison Park, beautiful
Yeah,
venue, by
in
the way.
Aberdeen, right?
Yeah,
That was
I
a
love
home.
it there.
That's my hometown.
That's your
right?
spot, yeah,
That's
man.
spot, yeah.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, so I did photographed his father's wedding, and that's when I first met
Cool.
Michael. And I would say 2021 that was, maybe a year or two later, Mike, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I know you were already into photography at some point, or you had an interest in it, and your dad had reached out to me and asked, like, I want to get Michael a better camera, maybe. What should I get? I want to get him into photography. And I think we did talk about, some recommendations, because there's always good recommendations for, a photographer just
Right.
starting out,
For sure.
And then I think a little bit after that, then we got to work together. Do you remember any of that, Mike?
I do. I admired your work actually before the wedding. I got into photography since I was a young kid. My mom always had a camera in my hand, so I've always had like the passion. But once I got to the level where I wanted to take it a little more seriously, entered the professional world of it, it was a great help to be introduced to you.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, you said your mom was always having the camera around?
Yeah, ever since I was little, back in the day, before
That's so ironic.
there's
Was it-
digital photos, she would spend thousands of dollars a month printing out photos. So there's albums and albums and albums.
A little heavier, right? Those cameras back then compared to what we got now,
Heavy,
right?
yeah.
A little heavier.
What's crazy about that, Michael, is my dad was always the guy with the camera in my family, and he 100% inspired me to get into photography. And, back in the day when you would have, your neighbors come over and, have
Somebody had to be there.
somebody have a little cocktail party or
Yeah,
something
right.
like that. My dad was always the one going around.
The one with was it a camera or like a video camera, the handheld stuff?
He
too?
always had, he had film cameras, but then,
Yeah.
he had the point and shoots, but
Yeah.
he always had a camera.
Yeah.
And I remember when I joined the Navy that I got a camera. It was a Vivitar.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And all my friends knew that, I think was it a Vivitar? I have to remember. Maybe an Olympus.
I know
forget.
that. I know the brand, but
But
yeah.
all my friends knew. Don't worry about anything. Manny will take pictures. Like I was always the
You were the
guy
guy.
with the camera. So that's really cool to see that you had that growing up, and that kind of like inspired you a little bit to grab a camera. Unfortunately, though, when you were born, I remember you telling me something that you grew up with some sort. I don't know if it's a genetic disease. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so long story short, it's called Best's disease. 1% of people in the world get it, and out of that 1%, 0.0001% get it before the age of 30, and that would be me.
Oh, wow.
So it's a genetic disorder, and essentially people's retina, most of them's like a sunny side up egg. Mine's like a scrambled egg. So my parents always knew about it. They didn't want it to hinder my lifestyle, so they didn't really let me know. In hindsight, I really respect them for that. But when I was 11 years old, started having some eye problems. They knew what it was right away. Went to the eye doctor, and I had to get a few injections. So the injections were like tumor shrinking medicine, shrink down the blood cells in my eyes, and I could see again. So a little bit of a rough part in my life, but I would definitely say it gave me some perspective and grew my interest further for photography. That life is beautiful. Everything we take pictures of is beautiful, and sight might not always be there, but there'll be the memories there that are like through my lens. You know what I mean?
I love that too. I was just gonna say I love
Wow.
that. Yeah.
Very
inspiring.
You're inspiring. I mean,
Yeah.
just me here, and I'm sure Mark as well. But I mean,
Right.
how proud are your parents of you for like making this connection to photography? Is just amazing. And for me, as you if you remember, I was a police officer when I started this photography career back in 2008. I was a detective, and for me, it was an outlet, right? Because I was seeing a lot of different things at work, and just handling the stress of being a police officer and the job that it entails. But as a forensic photographer, it's different, right? You're shooting crime scenes, you're shooting death, you're shooting things that aren't really pleasant. But as a photographer, even though you're still trying to make that image like tell a story, right? Even as a forensic photographer, right?
Yeah.
Especially you need a timeline when
Sure.
it goes to court and jury and whatever else. But as a photographer now, we're still telling stories
Right.
through weddings, through events, through sports, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I think that would probably, your story is incredible. And
Yeah.
I
Just hearing
think,
those numbers too, not to interrupt, but like
oh,
the,
I know. Yeah,
the fact
say that again. What was the number again? That was crazy.
So Best disease, it's a form of macular degeneration. So there's a bunch of different forms of that, but this Best disease, which is an ironic name because it most certainly is not the best, but
Right.
Right.
that only affects like 1% of people in the world. And then out of those people, most of the time they tend to be retired above the age of, 65 years old. So me and a select few of my cousins got it really bad and, pulled the unlucky straw, but, I
Oh, so
definitely.
other family members had that too?
Yeah, so it runs throughout my whole family, some
Oh,
worse than
okay.
other. My
Wow.
dad technically has it. His can be solved with glasses, but
Yeah.
um, me and my cousin, we both got it at the age around 10 years old, and
Um,
that's when it started to impact us.
And how does that impact you looking through the lens of a camera?
I would say that when I'm taking photos, I'm not just trying to like capture what I see, but I'm really like you said, trying to tell a story because almost when I'm taking pictures and videos, I'm taking mental images as well because not to sound dark, but any day my best disease could go back to, being really bad and then there's no clock on it. It could be whenever.
right.
Got it. Right.
I'm knocking on wood for you here.
Yeah, no, it's an incredible story, Michael. You're really inspirational, and I got an opportunity to bring you to an event. Remember, I talked to your dad about it one time. I said, "Look, I'll try to get him to something," and I think it was a small gathering, but it was still something that I wanted to bring you out to. It was a vow renewal for an older couple, and do you remember that?
I do. That was my first big introduction into the professional space. I had done some work with, graduation photos, photographing my friends, doing some sports, but this was the first step into entering a professional career where I could start to really grow my network.
Oh, good. And what did you take away anything from that day? Do you remember anything that stood out or something that helped you grow?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I remember one thing that sticks out to me that day is my photos. I didn't have a flash. I was still kind of entering in with my equipment, so there was a lot of adjustments. I used my 50 millimeter 1.8, try to get the best lighting that I could. But some of the shots came out warm. But that helped me grow in the future as well. It taught me about white balance. It gave me a deep dive into how I could customize my white balance depending on my setting, and now each thing's going to be different, and transitioning into that manual focus rather than just letting the camera do the work.
Yes, the scary M button, right? We're
Yeah.
all like, I remember those days too. You'd be like, oh, don't go there yet.
Yeah.
But it's true though, because a lot of this is about getting out there. We've talked about this countless times. You could watch videos all day, you could do all this stuff, but getting out there and experiencing it for yourself, would you say that helped like sharpen your skills and be like, oh wow, this is it?
Absolutely, and it definitely gave me more passion to keep on continuing because I'm someone who just, when I like something, when I find an interest, I just go down a wormhole and, I
Love
could
that.
spend 5, 6 hours on YouTube at a time
Mhm.
just researching and researching. And that's the part I love about it. Yes, I
Yeah.
love the photos and the editing, but the research and the learning something new, I think it helps grow my whole person.
Yeah, for sure.
I literally, I don't know if you could see, I got the chills only because what you're saying is something that it provided me to give back as well and to bring you on board and mentor you. You're not the first person. Hopefully you won't be the last, but I have brought some people on board and they went out and, look at Tim.
Right.
I mean,
All these
amazing,
people.
amazing surf photographer, got into weddings and,
Yeah.
I feel like he started with me
Yeah.
and, he's off doing his own thing with other people, but he's still an amazing photographer. And I know you took that and you're at Seton Hall. And I think I remembered maybe telling you like, when you're there, you have all this, college atmosphere. What are you doing now? Well, let our audience here know what you're doing because I know it's pretty spectacular.
So I'm doing a few things. So first off, I got a job at the Career Center. So through them, I do a series of professional networking events for the school. I get to go and do different headshots for different professionals, and I really expand my network that way. Furthermore, I got a job with the Setonian, which is Seton Hall's newspaper, and then I do all the athletic events, but mainly men's basketball.
Oh
I'm
wow.
actually doing the women's game against number one UConn this Saturday as well. So that'll be lots of fun.
That is so cool.
It's so
and
cool.
impressive,
And
really.
what I love about this is that he took this, this unfortunate disease that we were born with it, correct? Am I right in
I
saying
was.
born
Yes.
with it? Doesn't let that
I know.
hinder him from
I'm gonna be
being
blunt.
very
He's just
successful.
giving it the finger, and he's like, "I'm
Right.
gonna
He's
do
F
like
you, I'm out of
right,
here. Right?
yeah." And I
I'm
love
gonna
that
go do what
though.
I love, and this is why what we're doing, we love.
Right,
Right.
Yeah,
I love photography. Right?
Right.
I love being a police officer, but I also love photography. That's why I wanted to do both roles while I had the opportunity. It gives me so much joy to hear that you're being very successful, because this is just the beginning for you, right? I know that some of the things that you just spewed out about white balance and this and that.
right.
When you first walked into, the event venue that day, I knew you were a little hesitant, and I knew you were a little, wet behind the ears, which most beginner photographers are. But you watched, you learned, you listened, you asked questions, and then you took that and advanced your own self, which is really incredible.
And not for nothing, too, not to be a sad sack the whole time, it's unfortunate what happened with my best disease, but, it is a reminder to me, there's a ton of people who have it worse. I have a really supportive network behind me. I have, you guys, I have my parents who have been extremely supportive throughout the whole thing, and a series of other mentors throughout the way who've helped me grow. And, I just try to be a sponge and absorb everything I can. There's plenty of people who have it worse out there. So, it's just opportunity.
Right, that's exactly it.
Amazing.
Opportunity.
It's amazing.
You're right. Like you're. This is the position you're in. It is what it is. Right. You're given what you're dealt with. These are the cards you have,
Right.
and you're crushing it, man. Based off of everything I've heard so far, I got to meet this guy. We
Yeah.
got to go on an event together because I already love this guy.
The whole family's
Like-
great. I love his dad. I love Gina,
Yeah.
and this guy is awesome.
So positive, so positive. When you could sit there and understandably like, oh, like this, that, like small violin. I get it, but you're like, no, we're not doing that. We are going to like push forward and just like
Right.
crush the industry. Like you said, some of the stuff you were saying, I was like so impressive. And I mean,
Here's
crazy.
one other thing I want to tell you about Michael, and I could see his progression into this whole career. Now, I got the Ray-Ban Metas,
Yes.
and I got them probably a couple of years after they came out. Well, as his father saw once again, because he's sees what I do, he follows me on Facebook.
Right.
He saw what I was doing with the behind the scenes stuff and putting that out there, which I thought was cool. He also liked the motorcycle stuff. Your dad likes my motorcycle videos too. They're kind of fun. And again, I inspired some other motorcyclists to get these meta glasses that are using Insta360 and all these other cameras they're using.
Remember them? Yeah.
Now you put the meta glasses on, and you get your text messages through there. You get your music through there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So his dad once again reached out. I think it was this past holiday, about Christmas present for Michael. And, I basically kind of guided him to get some metas. And I believe you are now the proud owner of your own metas, right?
I am the proud owner. Going
yeah.
back to looking through the lens, this is great. I think the metas are so cool because now not just me, but everyone could see what I'm looking at and what you're looking at with the motorcycles and photography.
Right.
It brings a whole nother experience, especially with content too. I'm mainly a photographer. I do dabble in some videography, but this makes it a lot easier to make content because I could stick to doing the photos that I love while still keeping it entertaining for the audience.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because your one video, I think it was at Prudential Center, you were photographing the Yukon game.
Yes.
Yeah, Seton Hall versus Yukon.
Right.
And you can see Michael coming in. He's got all the credentials that he needs, and everyone is high-fiving my boy, man. And it's all on his metas. They're all like, "Hey, Mike's here."
Love
Everything in this world is good right now.
Yeah.
And he, sets up in the corner, behind the court there, behind the basket on the sideline there, and he's recording like what he's shooting through the metas, just like we do. With
I love
weddings
that. I
and
know.
just
I
like
got to get
everything
me a
else.
paraben.
So
saying it.
how has that been working out for you?
No, it's been amazing. It's such a cool experience just getting to go through, the private entrance. You get free food and water and stuff. You get the press room, really good opportunities that, Seton Hall was ranked, a little bit of a rough go lately, but, being in the same room with individuals like Dan Hurley, Rick Pitino, these professionals that, have been around for such a long time, just to be, 5 feet away, getting the opportunity to ask them questions, getting the opportunity to be on the court and, meet players who can potentially be NBA stars someday.
Absolutely. And I would just say to you, take all those opportunities. Like when I first got hired at Getty Images in 2012, I take every opportunity that comes my way, because you just never know when it might end, right? So like you don't know or which direction it might change into. So any opportunity that comes my way to advance and to learn and to ask questions, I always do.
Yeah. You
So
have to.
I would say, continue doing that.
I have a question.
Yeah, go.
So, What camera did you start with, and what camera do you have now?
great question.
I have to ask.
So I started off with a Canon Rebel T7.
Okay.
That was the first
Classic.
one. I bought it with my graduation money.
Love
Good point and shoot to start. And then since I've progressed, I now own a Sony A7 III. And then
Sony guy.
All right, wait. I love this. Hear me out. I started, so I'm a little older than you. I started with the T3,
Like what, a year?
the Canon. Right. Well, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 22 years old.
Oh, yeah, me too. Plus 8. But who's counting? But I started out with the Canon at the time. The T3, the T3i was like hot. I was like, all right, same thing. Graduation money. I said, we're going to get a nice camera. And then eventually I upgraded. Finally, when I dabbled in Sony, because I mainly do video and the low light capabilities was just like superior at the time. Yeah. And my first Sony camera I got was the A7 III. Dude, I'm like, you're talking to me. I'm just like, go on. You tapped into my mind.
First Sony that I had too was A7
A7 III.
Yes.
I think it was incredible. And now, we just.
You still have that now, Michael? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I'm shooting with currently.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We were saying in one of the previous segments, I pre-ordered the A7 V, so I'm excited to see that. I'm like, can't wait to hold it. But dude, I love your story. Everything you're saying so far is just completely awesome. I have to meet this guy. We're gonna set something up.
Absolutely.
Michael, if there were two young photographers sitting across from you right now that had no idea what to do, what even though you don't have like years of experience, but I do still like that you have some experience, and now that you've taken that next step, to work for Seton Hall the way you're doing, what is something that you would say to somebody just starting out that wants to get into photography?
Kind of what you were saying, Manny. Take everything that you can get. Practice, practice, practice. My first 2 years of photography, just been doing it with my friends. My one friend's a musician, so I photograph his band and his album covers. My other friend, he's a BMX racer, so I go and I do his shots, and I do graduation photos. And any opportunity that you could get, just continue to build and learn and practice, and it's only going to go up from there.
Awesome. So true. And we always call I always say like photography, video, all this stuff is like a big tree. So many branches, so many areas it can go, and it's kind of cool to dabble in all of it to kind of see what you like best. And I mean, I've dabbled like in sports, not nearly as much as you guys probably have, but a little here and there. And it's like it's impressive to kind of go out of your comfort zone and do something like that. You know what I mean? And so to hear you crushing it in sports, man, is like hats off. That's awesome.
My biggest thing with sports for me was the opportunity to photograph the Jets versus the Patriots at one time at MetLife, and I got really good photos of Tom Brady, before while he was active, and I didn't really dive into sports too much. I did do some stuff for like local high schools.
Joe does a lot of that
hockey,
too. Yeah, like hockey.
For my sister's kids.
Hockey was fun.
She was a great hockey photographer, my sister. But I never really got into, sports. I did some Monmouth University, basketball games back in the day. Again, just taking those opportunities, right? It was an opportunity. I knew somebody at the college. They hooked me up with their athletic director and their director of photography. Now, is there a director of photography at the college?
So there's so many different routes you can go. There's photographers for the team itself. There's for the school paper, the radio station. I chose the school paper because of the freedom it gave me. They let me do almost any event that I want to do, and I get to see it, on the front page of the school paper, which I think is really cool. Nice. Photographers with the team, they have their perks too. They get to travel to, Hawaii for the Maui Invitational and all that fun stuff. But I'm very content working for the school paper. They've treated me wonderfully so far.
That's awesome. Good. And what you said you're a senior now in Seton Hall, right?
Yes.
So what's next for you after that?
So I'm a marketing major with a minor in market research. So that's the best way I could tie my photography in. Over last summer, I did an internship with Chick-fil-A where I was their executive director of marketing. I ran their business to business sales, built some websites with them, did all their digital stuff, but also got the opportunity to do some photographs for them. I made these mini commercials for them to, help bring in advertising, and, they got this new food truck. So a lot of community involvement. So that's kind of my next step, using marketing and photography, tying two and two together and building a career off of it.
Well, that's incredible, because we were just talking about marketing and our lack of it for many years. And unfortunately, I can admit that, right? Sometimes you got to admit your mistakes and learn from them and grow, right? That's how you grow, right? And I maybe marketed my photos. Here's the difference. I marketed my photos more than I marketed myself as a brand.
Right.
So in other words, I'm MTC Photography, Moments to Capture. Right. Some people might not even know that's my initials, Manny Thomas Carabell, right? Or maybe they do, but I don't know that. So my marketing in 2026 is definitely going to be dialed in a little bit differently. And with your degree in that and the way you want to tie that into your photography, I would say just go all in, because that's what I'm hearing. and that's what I'm seeing the trend is.
Yeah, sounds like an express lane on a highway. Like
100%.
if you have that power, and you can
HOV
hit
lane.
right. Yeah, baby, let's go.
Let's go.
Exclusive.
Yeah.
I like it, and we also like Chick-fil-A, so that's cool too, right?
Yeah.
We got some good stuff.
Any new gear coming up for you or anything like that you want to talk about?
No new gear for now. I just got a Tamarind 70 to 180 f 2.8 lens. That was my last big purchase. That's really helped me up my game. Get a lot sharper photos for a budget price. Helped me with short form content. I think that's the future wave. Of course AI, but short form content. If you appeal to the algorithm, it gets you everywhere. It takes is one person to see your stuff and get back to the podcast, and you got a new fan.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, listen, like if there's anything that Mark and I could ever do for you, you know how to get a hold of me. I'll give you Mark's information too. I'll text
I
it
gotta
to you
find you on
later.
Instagram.
But it's been such an honor to have you here on the podcast. I know you and I have talked about it for a while, and with your school schedule, it's been a little dicey. But hearing your story today, it really was inspirational.
Absolutely, like
I got the chills here.
100%. It was you shine such a unique light on in this world that we're all involved in, right? And there's so many stories to share, but never in a million years, like this was such a cool story to hear, and like how
And
well
hearing
you're
it-
exceeding, and
Hearing it, hasn't it made you want to just like go out now and do something motivating?
it's like motivating. It's
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. This is great.
Well,
session.
listen, Michael, I think what we'll do is we're gonna end this one here with you. But I would love to have you back on
Yeah.
maybe a few months down the road once you decide where your career path might take you. I mean, you think Chick-fil-A will call you back or something when you have that degree in marketing?
I'm hoping, but for now, I really appreciate you guys giving me the platform to speak on this. This is really big for me, and I hope that we continue to work together in the future.
1,000%.
Say less.
Yeah,
Right?
I appreciate
Absolutely.
you. Say hi to the folks for me. And Michael, again,
Absolutely.
best of luck with the rest of your senior year, Putty.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
And everyone listening, Menardos.photos.
There it is.
There it is. I love it. So he plugged himself. I
Always
love
got to
it.
plug it. Come on now.
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
There
you go.
How you doing?
All
I
right,
love it.
Michael. Take care, my man.
Michael,
Thank
be
you
well,
very
man.
much,
Nice
guys.
meeting you.
All right, be well.
Nice to meet you. Meet you soon. Bye bye.